We back with another one, and with this one, we're gonna have a lot of fun. 5 things Chris Brown teaches us about women. Now, for full disclosure, anybody who knows me and my girl, we are definitely Chris Brown fans, right? So I've been to the last 4 shows, Breezy Bowl, absolutely amazing. But as I was sitting at this concert, really paying attention and looking around, I learned a lot about what we know, but probably are a little uncomfortable to discuss. But I think it's really, really, really important that we as men always hold ourselves accountable to the truth. And so talking about these real-time matters, there's a lot of learning lessons. And so here's the first one. One of the things that I learned while being at the Chris Brown concert, right, is that the harsh truth of it is, fellas, is that women are drawn to men first and foremost physically. Yep, absolutely. See, all of these after school specials teaching us it's about personality and emotional intelligence and not cap. All of it's cap. Because in the same aspect that we as men are first attracted to what we see, like the same is true for a woman. And you have to understand, for a woman, it goes much deeper, which is she's looking for genetic material, meaning she subconsciously is going to look to balance her seed through a variety of things. From if she's petite, what do petite women all want? A man who's noticeably taller than them. Why? Because they want their genetic seed to have a chance of being tall, right? Because height is a key indicator of attraction. Another thing, if, based on whatever her physical features are, she will tend to be operate in polarity, meaning wanting the exact opposite. Height is just an example. Face shape is another. Just overall physical profile, right? This all goes back to attraction. Why? Because she wants healthy and attractive offspring for the purpose of survival. So fact of it is what we learned from Chris Brown is that for a woman, everything begins with attraction. So what that means is in our pursuit, fellas, of chasing God, chasing our purpose, right? We also need to be chasing the best health outcomes because obviously that insinuates a lot. Both directly and indirectly, consciously, subconsciously, for both you and her. Number 2, women are attracted to strength, success, status, resources, power. Like, what we not going to do here on the Builder of People podcast is we not going to entertain a lie. What we not going to do is avoid the truth, because while truth is controversial, it is the foundation to which everything can be built and grown. And so the fact of it is what we learned from Chris Brown is that risk takers win. That's what a woman is looking for. She's looking for a man, right, who has defied the odds and succeeded, right? And Chris Brown, we know from his incident 15 years ago, has been diligent and has persevered to reach new heights that no one even thought were possible. But it came down to a lot of grit, grind, tenacity, persistence, diligence. And so what he represents is effective risk taking. What he represents is a man who is able to defy the odds to become the best version of himself, which yet again leans into what a woman is after most, right? Which is survival and strength in all areas. And so he represents that. We would be wise, fellas, to watch and learn and to give honor where honor is due, which is if you put in the work and you did it the legit legal way, because the good book says, right, that there is honor in all labor, but it's referring to ethical, legal labor, right, is an attribute that a woman would be wise to desire. So, hey, 2 for 2, he earned that. Number 3. Women will only invest resources into the man that she loves. Now, this one right here, we're going to go there. And it's this. Exactly what I said. Women will invest significant resources in a man that she loves. Let's talk about this Chris Brown photo. Most of you know it's like 1,100, 1,200, whatever it is, I don't quite know, but it's around that. It's around that amount. And so ultimately, what you have to realize is the data says that 71% of all Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. You heard me right. 71% of all adult Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. And yet these women are spending roughly that amount, more than that amount, roughly $1,200, to invest in a 10-second photo. And let's be honest why she's doing it. Some are doing it for the fun, but most of them, let's just be honest, are doing it because they hoping to get chose. So to them, that's an admission fee, like kind of like trying to hit the lottery, which I don't understand why a woman would think that, because he's never going to be monogamous, never going to build anything with you, just going to be a body count, and you're going to be into the pit of the unknown of the thousands of other women. But hey, what do I know? So call that hating. It ain't hating, but it's a fact. So that's that. But as it relates to the resources, fellas, if she is not willing, literally willing to invest in the relationship, or specifically with the dream and mission that the two of you have, in the same capacity to which these women are easily and readily willing to do, understanding that 71% of them are spending until their last, gives us a lot of critical detail. And it's this, like, if you're pretty much only able to maintain that relationship because you're paying all the bills, and while you go broke, she balling, that tells you that she really ain't never feeling you like that, bro. And so ultimately, what I would tell to the fellas is, in the same aspect that you should be willing to invest to the very end, so should she. This should be mutual reciprocity, where it's an equal give and take, understanding that there are going to be seasons that are different for the both of you, but we working as a team. And so ultimately, I have, you have, and when you don't have, I have, and when I don't have, you have. That's what a partnership looks like, because data actually proves that couples who have been through things together, even specifically as it relates to working towards their financial growth, actually report having twice as much trust-based elements in their relationship compared to couples who don't labor and endure and go through things. So yet again, as I shared in a previous podcast, it's when we face fear in its eye and we look directly at what it is and we go directly through what it is, that is where our path to the other side actually lies. But that takes what? Grit, hard work, heart, determination, strength, persistence, prayerfulness, because that is the sum total of life. Let's move on to number 4. Monogamy is fluid according to a man's resources. What I mean by that is, what you have to understand, the whole notion of monogamy is all about securing resources. And so what that means is while most women will agree that they want to be in monogamous relationships, as do I, the primary motivation has almost everything to do with her financial survival. And so because the average man in America, makes less than $40,000 a year, I get it. Like, having to divide $40,000 among multiple women, and I'm not pushing for the polyamory agenda. That's not my point here. Makes sense. But when someone on Chris Brown's caliber, who probably makes $40 million a year, being able to financially provide for one or more is a non-factor, which is why the majority of all women in marriages and or committed relationships, if they're honest and they're fans of Chris Brown, would absolutely be one of several or one of many. Why? Because they know they're not fighting for adequacy or resources. Why? Because the man make $40 million a year. So fact of it is yet again, monogamy is really fluid according to a man's resources, where the fact of it is most women would rather be, right, the mistress of a king than to be, the peasant wife of a common laborer. Like, that's just common sense. It's the way it's always been. But yeah, I don't want to focus on that detail. I'm just illustrating and highlighting and understanding that the truth of it is that resources are really what the end game sum total is, more often than not. But yet it's a truth we don't really want to, conveniently accept. And so the last thing is this: women want the winner. Yep, absolutely. She want the winner. Fact of it is, when you look at Chris Brown, he has financially won. He has won on the world stage. Now, who or what he is behind closed doors, spiritually, I don't know. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But what I want to highlight to the young man's credit is, as I always say, as men, our greatest priority must be to chase God and chase our purpose. Why? Because that is the only avenue on which we win at life. Now, it takes time. It takes 5 years to figure it out, 10 years to get good, 20 years to dominate. But my point is, when you look at Chris Brown, right, we're going to assume that he knows God, the Heavenly Father, so we'll just leave that there. But he is absolutely living within the purpose and gifts and talents that God has given him. I'm not here to talk about the music subject matters, may not necessarily be in alignment with what God would prefer. But the point of it is, he's utilizing his God-given gift, right? Even if partially, and it has yielded the fruit and results that you see. And so, the fifth thing about, a woman that Chris Brown reveals is that at her essence, at her core, what she wants is a man who has chased God, chased his purpose, and won. And so you cannot fault that in a woman for wanting a winner. But obviously there's a fine line and there's a balance to it. So while we might be fans, it's a no and never. We not taking a Chris Brown photo. She ain't taking a Chris Brown photo. It's a no and a never. Just point blank, period. And that's for a whole nother topic. And yet again, fellas, as I explained to you before, it ain't because you're trying to control or insecure. It's because I'm not going to be controlled. And it's because I'm going to securely deal with the facts and the details, which is this. My job as a man is to take you closer to God, not closer to temptation. And so the fact of it is, as a man, it's important that we be able to view the world and understand principles that we can learn from and apply in our life. And it's this, fellas, to the benefit of Chris Brown, what he teaches us is you need to become the best version of you physically, because attraction is the number one thing, that creates organic opportunities between a man and woman. We both are wired that way. Number two is women are attracted to strength, success, status, money, resources, and that's understandable, because what she's trying to discern and define is a risk taker who can win. Number three, women will only invest resources in a man that she loves. The Chris Brown photo situation proves that. And so you would be wise to live in that truth, which is if she's not willing to mutually invest in you in the same aspect that you will and would, then yet again, that indicates that she really doesn't have genuine burning desire for you. Number four, monogamy is fluid according to a man's resources. Because monogamy really is the art of resource protection. But once a man has abundance enough, I'm not here to promote any sort of lifestyle. The whole point of it is ultimately an abundance of resources is always what the ultimate outcome is, because again, she's looking for survival and significance in life. And then last but not least, women want a winner. Women want a man who has chased God, chased his purpose, and won. That makes her smart. Congratulations. And yet, ultimately, we as men can decide to do that within our own life in every regard, because ultimately, the sum total of life is who do we define as God, who will we become, and who will we marry? And it is the Builder of People podcast ultimate goal to help you be successful in all of those things. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.